Duke at Louisville. Louisville -4, LNN Stadium will be going berserk. Louisville has a nice little path to the ACC title game by nature of what happened last week with North Carolina. And they're looking to get that bad taste out of their mouth as Louisville after the bye week. They lost to Pitt. The ACC race, man, I said it once, I'll say it again. They are very much so in the hunt. We gave you our mid-season, postseason predictions. Like after week 6, we kind of hit the reset button on our predictions from the preseason and said, okay, here's how we see the conference title race shaping up. Here's how we see the college football playoff race shaping up. We have Louisville in Charlotte playing Florida State. A win here would be huge. Do we pick them to win this game? We'll tell you in just a second. But that environment, I think, will be electric. And there's a lot of excitement right now around that football team, as there always is when it comes to Louisville, Kentucky. Should be a great game. Now, for Duke, on the ropes a little bit. On the ropes a little bit because lost to Florida State last week, and you felt like you played well enough to win that game, especially when it came to what you did in the first half. Now, Riley Leonard is a guy that we got to talk about when it comes to this matchup. Similar theme to last week. Mike Elko says he's day-to-day. Now, what does day-to-day mean? I don't know. The expectation would be, even if Riley Leonard does play in this football game, what percentage effectiveness are you getting out of him? Because he is a dual-threat quarterback. One of the things that he does the best is running the football. So for the sake of this conversation, we'll kind of break it down if he does play and if he doesn't play. But this is a game in which your back is against the wall. We said it at the top of this show. These two schools are barreling towards efforts to be in that ACC title game. This would be a lot for the ACC title efforts when it comes to Duke. Kind of the back against the wall. Get yourself back on track with a win would be the hope there for Duke. And can they do it without their quarterback? We'll see if they even have to, but we'll talk about it right now. Big thing to watch in this game. Duke's effectiveness defending Jamari Thrash. Now, if you don't know who Jamari Thrash is, that's okay. He has been phenomenal for Louisville, playing receiver for them. He has been the best offensive weapon for them to this point. And Duke, to be real, didn't look horrible against Florida State when it came to them throwing the football last week, but still, I think they're left a lot to be desired. And I think the interesting thing when I watched that game back was the amount of space that Duke gave Florida State's wide receivers at the line of scrimmage. They gave them a lot of cushion. It looked like anywhere from 3 to 5 yards every single play. And it wasn't like they just only played zone or only played man, but like, I think if you're going to be able to win this football game, you got to be a little bit more aggressive with your attention towards Jamari Thrash. He is accounting for 1/3 of Louisville's quarterbacks' passing yards, and Jack Plummer. Also, half of his touchdown passes. Jamari Thrash currently has 6 touchdowns. Jack Plummer has thrown 13. Now, Duke, to the same token, over the course of the season has been really good defending the pass. Defending right around for 5.4 yards per pass, number 5 in the country. If Thrash gets going, the concern would be, if you're Duke, that the rest of Louisville's offense starts to open up. And if that happens, maybe you see Duke overcompensate a little bit and you kind of get that run game going if you're Louisville back underneath. Also, Jamari Thrash, I think it's a very real possibility that he just ends up being the game breaker. Like in a situation like this where you're at the crib, ranked matchup, really good ACC, tough opponent coming in, like you just go to your dog. It's not the same situation, but it kind of reminds me of the Ohio State-Penn State game we were at last week. Back and forth, physical outfits. They just went to Marvin Harrison Jr. He just took over the game. Jamari Thrash, I think, could be that for Louisville in this game. Now, if Louisville isn't able to kind of get him rolling the way that they want to, I think Duke potentially then makes Louisville a little bit more one-dimensional, and you could force Jack Plummer to be the one to beat you. You put the pressure then on Jack Plummer without his go-to guy, without the best playmaker, to be the one to create points for Louisville. And as good as Jack Plummer has been at times for Louisville, especially in that Notre Dame game, he's thrown 8 interceptions so far. That's not good for Louisville. That would be a world you would want to live in if you're Duke. That could be the difference maker, because if you give Duke extra possessions, by nature of how they operate offensively, you may not see the football for a little bit and can make this a rock fight. I don't think Louisville wants to get into a rock fight, and Duke, I think, would be favored if it was a rock fight. Now, when it comes to the rock fight, the battle at the line of scrimmage is going to be enormous. Because for Duke, I think they have to find a way to be multiple offensively. They're a 56% run operation, and Louisville's been great against the run. So there's a world here where Duke just ends up finding something they like in the run game, and they end up winning the line of scrimmage, and that's the way that this thing goes, is Duke just kind of bulldozes their way to a victory. I could see that, but again, by nature of how Louisville's played the run to this point, that feels like a less likely outcome. So if Duke's able to get something going in the run game, do they have something off the pass game? Right? I think there has to be some way to score points here if you're Duke, because I think Louisville's going to find a way to score points, especially at home. So if that's the case, this is where I get nervous about Duke. If there's not Riley Leonard playing in this football game, I don't know how you match points with Louisville. Right now, he's been reported as day-to-day. I don't know what that means. I didn't think he was going to play last week against Florida State, and then he ended up playing. If he doesn't play, you go to Henry Beelan, who's the backup quarterback for Duke, and there is not necessarily a passing game available to you when he is your quarterback. And that's not to knock Henry Beelan. Just to this point in the year, we have not seen him be consistent. I think in the second half, or not in the second half, rather, in the third to fourth quarter, middle of the third quarter to the fourth quarter, when Henry Beelan was your quarterback, the offense did something like 35 yards total, 53 yards total. I might be mixing those numbers up. Bottom line, they were not efficient offensively when he was their quarterback. They were not moving the football. So if that's the case, I really worry about, again, their ability to keep pace with this Louisville football team. I think if Louisville's run defense is there, that could end up being the difference maker. So going back to the multiple conversation around Duke's offense, can you run the ball to set up the pass? And can you run the ball to run the ball? Kind of simplistic, but I think that's the kind of way you have to play if you're Duke in this football game. Now, my guy Sam Bland is a diehard Louisville fan. He's dialed into this one. I know he is. And I think when you come away from this game, if you're Sam, if you're a Louisville fan, you would like to see Louisville make Duke one-dimensional offensively like we talked about. I think they'll do that. And you'd like to see Jamari Thrash, like we already talked about, get to make some plays in space. The thing for me, man, I think Louisville's going to respond. And I don't know that Duke, even if they have Riley Leonard, will have the output offensively to match this pass attack of Louisville. If you give Jamari Thrash space, we keep talking about him, we've really focused on him because he is the player for Louisville, in my eyes, in this game. I think that's the difference maker. I think you give him space, he's going to hurt you. So, I actually like Louisville to not only win this game, I think they cover. I think Louisville wins this football game 27-17, and the Cards stay on a course for the ACC title game. Just barreling towards Charlotte. They'll need Jack Plummer to play more efficient the rest of the way to do that. But again, we like Louisville to win this game over Duke. We like them to cover. So, Roback is bringing y'all the hard count today. And y'all that have tuned into any of the content that we've done here for any extended period of time, you know that I wear Roback a lot. There's a reason for that. Roback is a brand for the people, by the people, and they get us as college football fans. So they have the best polos on the market. They have great moisture-wicking T-shirts. I don't know if T-shirt's the right word. Performance shirts, rather. You got performance crew necks, like whatever you need for football season. As we move into like this kind of more fall part of the year where you got to have something to make sure you're good when it comes to the crispier times of the year, Roback's got you covered. Moisture-wicking technology, four-way stretch, makes it easy to move while keeping you feeling fresh. That's polos. It's also the moisture-wicking technology they have with the everyday shorts. They're perfect pairing. They're comfortable, have elastic waistband, have great fabric that is made to stretch. Roback also been proudly leading the charge when it comes to NIL. They've signed partnerships with guys like Cade Klubnik, Kyle McCord, Nick Singleton, Jalen Milroe, Audric Estime, all those college stars, as well as teamed up with the legendary Coach O. So, use code JD on Roback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers. Okay, so code JD, 20% off for all new customers. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, the hoodies, which are a game changer, quarter zips. You'll get right with Roback. So, again, use code JD to get that done with a nice little discount. Just in time for football season, or the end of football season, rather, the last third of football season, the home stretch, fourth quarter, put them up, fours. Make sure to check them out at Roback.com. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.